Now to Gaza and some important figures that have emerged. The number of Palestinians killed by the Israeli offensive in Gaza has passed 40,000 amid renewed efforts to broker a ceasefire. These figures, according to the health ministry in the Hamas-run territory, which does not, importantly, distinguish between civilians and combatants. The war began after Hamas fighters stormed into southern Israel on October the 7th of last year, killing about 1,200 people and seizing 251. Israel says more than 300 of its soldiers have died in the fighting since. So those figures, a very important milestone past there. 40,000 is what the Hamas-run ministry is now reporting. Barbara Plett-Usher reports, and a warning that viewers may find some details in this report unsettling.
It took Ali 2 months to dig his family out of the wreckage of their home. He was the only one who survived the strike.
I could see my father under the rubble, but I couldn't extract him at first because he was under 2 columns of cement and the ceiling would have collapsed. He decomposed in front of my eyes. My mother's body was inside the house, but when I tried to go to see her, I felt smothered and had to leave.
He's looked after now by his grandfather in a shelter for orphans and widows, carrying on with the task of living. His mother, father, brother and 2 sisters are among the 40,000 reported killed in the Gaza war. The number is overwhelming. Each loss is a raw and individual grief, experienced again and again in places that are supposed to be safe. Israel says it hits civilian infrastructure because Hamas is operating there. Hamas says it isn't. The international community condemns civilian deaths, and the killing goes on. More than 10 months of war have turned Gaza into a destruction zone, displaced most of its people. Many are sick and hungry. In the southern city of Khan Yunis, they've been forced to flee a continually shifting front line. We are tired of this life, she says. Death is better than this. Death is a constant presence. Sami Kawar still has his family and whatever else he could carry with him. But this graveyard was the only space he could find in a shrinking humanitarian zone.
We have fled from dying to be among the dead, meaning we are the living dead. The truth is, no one really knows what to say.
Back at the shelter, the orphans have been given another chance at life. How much of a chance, though? Without at least a ceasefire, the future looks as dangerous as the present. Barbara Plett-Usher, BBC News, Jerusalem.
Well, let's now speak to Jenny Hill, who is in Tel Aviv. Jenny, these figures striking indeed, and no doubt added impetus, as if it were needed, to attempts to strike a peace deal.
Yeah, you're quite right. This will lend a new urgency to the negotiators who are gathering in Doha, trying to hammer out that ceasefire and hostage return deal. 40,000 plus deaths now reported by the Gaza-run Ministry of Health. It's worth, of course, emphasising that Israel does not allow international journalists, including the BBC, into Gaza, so we can't independently verify that figure, but the numbers given out by the Ministry of Health are considered credible by the World Health Organization, although Israel has repeatedly disputed them. Hamas and the Ministry of Health have always said that the vast majority of those killed and injured in this war are civilians. Israel told the BBC quite recently that around 15,000 of the people killed are, in its view, terrorists. That's the word that it uses. But, you know, once again, it's a reminder of the ongoing suffering of people in Gaza. We learned recently that some 60% of the buildings in the Strip have been significantly damaged or destroyed. So a reminder to the negotiators who are in Doha that this is all about human lives.
Jenny, what are the prospects now for some sort of deal, given the backdrop that we are seeing and the risks associated with not striking a peace deal?
Well, those negotiators know that the stakes quite simply couldn't be higher, quite apart from trying to bring about an end to that war in Gaza. Most here consider that a ceasefire and hostage return agreement will stop that conflict from boiling over into a much wider regional all-out war. As you know, these talks are coming at a time of extremely high tension in the Middle East. The US has been really pushing to get this deal across the line. The director of the CIA is expected to participate in the talks. There's been a lot of urgent diplomacy gone on in recent days. Israel itself has sent a high-level delegation to the talks. Among the people represented are the chiefs of both the intelligence and security services. Now, Hamas says it won't participate, either directly or indirectly. To date, it hasn't ever sent people to participate directly. The current stance is based on its protest that, as it says, Benjamin Netanyahu has introduced new conditions in addition to existing proposals. They say that's not on. He denies that, but Hamas will be kept informed, we understand, by mediators. Mediations, of course, led by Qatar and Egypt. So those talks are expected to go on. It's hard really to say what outcome we're likely to see. One of the unknowables here is the impact on those negotiations of a change of leadership at the top of Hamas following the assassination of the group's political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran a couple of weeks ago. We've seen a successor appointed in the shape of Yahya Sinwar. He's believed to still be in hiding in Gaza. He's also widely considered to be a much more hardline character than his predecessor.